Welcome.
Fun topic, good topic, maybe the funnest topic of them all, at least for me personally. This is, I think, the funnest part of the process, most rewarding part. So excited to share our knowledge, expertise, et cetera, with you all. Peggy, let me just make sure that we
get the chat. When you started it, it's not allowing me to fix the chat now.
We should be good. I think everybody, okay.
All right, yeah.
All right, cool. So first of all, Peggy and I don't wear the matching uniforms for just anybody, for just any day of the week. So that's when you know it's on.
Only for our special people.
It's on, that's it. So a couple things here. We'll introduce ourselves in a minute. We will talk some kind of housekeeping, administrative stuff in a minute before we get into the content for why you guys are all here. But there's a few things we always like to find out right from the jump. Number one, where are you at in the country, right? We're representing both coasts. I'm here north of Boston, City of Champions. You might have heard of it, specifically on the North Shore. Peggy's out there on the Pacific North. And usually we got everybody in between, which seems to be the case here, right? Peggy has
somebody in Lake Tahoe buried in snow.
Jersey folks,
Louisiana. I do want to say I am from Jersey, so I am a transplant out here. I'm really a Jersey girl.
Portland, Maine. There we go. Unbelievable city, Peggy.
Texas. Nice.
Chicago. Braintree, Mass. Braintree split. South Shore. That's down the South Shore here, as we call it, Peggy. Santa Barbara. My wife is a alum of UCSB, College Paradise, heaven on earth. Awesome. Key West, Florida. Hell yeah. All right. So we're very represented geographically here. A couple other quick hitters here. We're assuming that we're class of 2023. We're assuming that we are speaking to senior families, right? Getting ready to send your babies off to college in the next couple of months, which is probably wild to think of. Any underclassmen here? If you're a 2024,
yeah, there's a 25, and it's all good if you're just kind of you're gonna see what's coming up next. So that's totally fine.
If you're the underclassmen, hit us. But cool. So we got some overachievers here. We welcome that. Obviously, the wolf is at the door for class 2023 here. Last thing that I'll hit you with before we get in there: who are we getting ready to do battle with? Which colleges are we getting ready to squeeze a couple more bucks out of, or maybe waiting on results here, or waiting on our financial aid award letter? SMU, Pepperdine. All right, Penn State, Stanford. Here we go.
Irish.
Nice, Duke, Irish. There we go. BC. Oh, I love picking on BC. Harvard, Baylor, UConn, Charleston, NYU. Yeah, we got a nice representation here. Big school, small school, state, public, private. We're going to cover it all. All right, awesome. And really appreciate the participation. Please keep it going. I think one of our metrics for a successful presentation is that it's really interactive and everybody's involved. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on the stuff that's most important to you all. Moving forward, we're going to have you put questions specifically in the Q&A as opposed to the chat, because that gets transcribed. It gets recorded for your peers that couldn't make it tonight. They'll get the benefit from those questions and answers. And that's where as one of us are presenting, the other one of us are going to be doing the best we can in Q&A to answer all your questions. I will tell you, just by the volume, by as many folks are on here tonight, we're not going to be able to get to every question. We're going to give it hell. We're going to do our best, I promise you. But we're also going to make sure that you know how to access us beyond tonight, right? And we'll talk about that at the end. The other thing I'll talk about, and for those of you that have been on with us before, we take care of our folks that show up for us live. So we're going to have some, I think, unbelievable giveaways and deals as we leave here tonight, right? We're going to make sure that if you want help on your specific appeal case, you can meet with one of us. You can meet with a director of financial aid at Harvard, right? Who's on our team, the director of financial aid at MIT, who's on our team, along with some other, we think, some of the most experienced folks in the industry here. We're going to get you taken care of, right? We're going to get you started tonight, but if you need help beyond tonight, I promise you will have whatever access you need to us. So without further ado, my name is Matt Carpenter, right? I'm one of the founders at College Aid Pro. I've been doing this for my entire career. So the only thing I know professionally, went through it with my family, right? 20 years ago when I was going through this process as a student. Fell on my face, right? Had two parents that were doing their very best, but were too busy, didn't know what the hell they were doing. Again, best intentions. not the best end result. That had a lot to do with me getting started in this industry, being like, there's got to be a better way to navigate this. I want to show people how to do it. Right. And so anyways, and I've been doing it ever since. And again, this is my favorite part of the process. My colleague and my friend Peggy here, she doesn't let me use the word negotiation, which is unfortunate because that's what we're doing here, guys. That's what we're doing. Now, Peg's going to talk about we're not allowed to use that word. We're appealing, but that's what we're doing. And there is a method to the madness here. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. But this is the fairy godmother of financial aid herself. She's been through this with her kids twice over, having twins, and has been in this industry for coming up on a decade and a half now. And I think is one of the most talented folks that are in this space. That's why I personally and us as a company sought her out to try to get her on our team. And we're very lucky that we got her on our team. Peggy, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, so I think my best credential is that I've been through this with my two, and they're out of college. You'll make it. You just have to have some deep breaths. But this really, as Matt said earlier, it is really the most fun part of this process because your kids are getting in. It's real, and you can do this piece. And I'm just going to have to put in here. The reason why I don't like the word negotiate is you don't want to approach the schools like you're buying a car, okay? Because you'll turn them off, and he knows this is true, but he likes to pick on me. And the head of financial aid at MIT and BC and Harvard School of Medicine tell us this. If parents approach with that mentality, it's, do we really want to deal with this family for 4 years? Not really. So that's why we try not to use that word, because I know how I am when I'm going to buy a car, and that's just not the way. That's not the mindset you want. It is what you're doing, but it's more of a mindset thing. And we already got the question. You will get an email tomorrow with the recording and the slides. So if you miss a little bit, or you want your partner to see it, whatever, your kids, you're all good. All right. So why don't we, my background is in the financial industry. And then really when my kids hit high school, I was shocked at how crazy all this was, not the saving part, which was my expertise, but all the stuff we teach you guys through this whole process. And so I started my own business just focusing on that, and knew the guys at CAP. And as Matt said, we just always talked about partnering, and it just happened in 2021. So here we are. So why don't we get started? All right. And truly, our mission at College Aid Pro really is to end the student loan crisis by empowering you to shop smarter for college. And really, if you guys are informed consumers in this process, because that's really what you are, right? You have a lot more of the power. So just being on this webinar and knowing you can appeal, I was just talking to a mom earlier, people don't know that they can appeal for merit aid when a school gave them $20,000. Yeah, you can ask for more. There's a right way to do it. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. We're going to go through all that. So this is just one example, because I know we have 24 and class of 24 and 25 parents. Kudos to you guys. You're starting to learn this early, but stay with us through this whole process. We're going to go through, we know the journey you're on. We know the pain points. We're going to educate you along the way. And that helps you get through this with less stress, and saves you a lot of money and a lot of friction with your kids, which is probably the most important thing. Okay, there we are.
Be careful.
As we always say. Okay, so you guys should have gotten an email encouraging you to open your free MyCap account. So you see the website in the bottom left corner. So Matt can pop that in the chat. If you haven't done it, you can do it now, but I want you to still be paying attention at the same time. But really encourage you to get this done. If you did, you can have it open on another laptop. And as we're in there showing you stuff, you can actually be looking at your situation. So definitely get in there and get that done if you haven't already.
Just to add on to that really quickly, Peg, the reason why it's important tonight and for the talking points and content is that what you're doing at this time of year, and we'll show you specifically, but if you haven't created an account, do it now, because you're going to upload your award letters. We're going to translate them, but then the first thing we're going to do is tell you, did you get a fair offer from this college? So you're going to see that kind of live here, but that's why we want you to do it tonight, so you can have this follow along as you're learning here, but have a good idea of how this is going to work for your family. Go ahead, Peg.
All right. So okay. So what what is happening now, and you 23, class of 23 parents probably have some of these for your kids, or if we have students on here, you've received these, what's called a financial aid award letter. And that's coming from the Office of Financial Aid and saying, here's your complete package. So there'll be grants, which are need-based money. It's basically endowment money, or it could be federal money, or it could be state money. So it can come from different sources, but it's gift aid based on need. So that's one thing you're going to see on there. You could also see scholarships. So that's typically merit. Sometimes need-based is called scholarships. It's typically called merit aid, based on grades and test scores, not your financial situation. Then work study, which is based on need. Your child has to get a job, they get a paycheck. You can use that money to pay for school or whatever you guys decide as a family to do with that money. And then, of course, there's loans, and there can be parent loans or student loans. Matt's going to show you our tool in a little bit, that we're going to take some of the pain in the butt part of this basically off your plate by interpreting these newsletters, financial aid award letters for you. But let's look at a couple examples just to give you guys an idea of what these can look like and how they can be misleading. So here's an example of an award, and they spell out the cost of attendance, the tuition, fees, room and board, books, transportation, everything. So the total cost is about $60,000. Then they lay out, hey, this is what we're expecting you to contribute, which is what comes off the financial aid forms. And if any of this is confusing, you're a younger parent, don't worry about it. We're going to go through this in webinars this summer and this spring, actually. So we'll get into the weeds on all of this. Don't feel like you're behind. So that's the EFC for this family. They're expecting this family to contribute about $36,000 total, and they have financial need of about $23,000. Then they say, okay, this is the package we're giving you. Well, they're giving a big Parent Plus loan of almost $51,000, and then direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Again, all of these terms, the next piece of this is how to pay, which we go through how to borrow. We're going to get in the weeds on all this stuff. The point tonight is to go over these award letters. So this school is saying, here's your total package. But as we can tell, and based on my explanation, it's all loans. So this family had need of $23,000, and the school didn't really meet any of it. Okay, so that's an example of a package that isn't so great. So here's DU. They break down the direct costs, which are what you're paying the school directly, then their indirect costs. So there's variability in those from family to family. Then they show the free money, that gift aid that I talked about. It's really important to know if it's need-based or merit-based, because merit aid is almost always offered for 4 years each year. And this tool that we're going to show you in a minute, you don't have to worry, because I've always told parents, we're not really sure about that. You need to check with the school. Now, this is going to translate that for you, so you don't have to have that concern. And then the last piece here is that they're breaking out the loans.
Can I interrupt you for just a second
Sure.
here? We're getting some really good questions that I think is often a point of confusion. And basically, to summarize all these questions into one, I think what folks are asking is, when I get an offer, how confident can I feel that this is going to be there for all 4 years? So I know you just said it in so many words, but can you again just reiterate what piece we can feel really good about being there for all 4 years versus what might be a variable?
So you're asking, how confident can you be about the award you get?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
why it matters if it's a scholarship versus a need-based grant.
Yeah, matters scholarship versus need-based is that merit scholarships are almost always offered for 4 years. So if you get a $20,000 trustee scholarship, or your child does, that's an $80,000 discount. So you can count on that when you do your 4-year cash flow. And I'm saying you're going to do it because you should. Get our help if that's confusing to you. That's a line item. That's a deduction for every year. Whereas need-based aid, if you're a consultant, and sometimes the going's good, and sometimes you don't have as much work, and it ebbs and flows. If you have not as good year and the next year's better, the college will take away need-based aid if you don't have it. So that nuance is really important to understand, basically. And knowing if your award is a good award, that's a major question. And when we get in my cap, we'll show you, we're projecting what your net cost should be, and then you're uploading awards, seeing your award, then we're going to tell you, hey, is this a decent award? Should you be appealing? We're going to take you through all of that to help you with all of those questions.
And sorry, Peggy, let me just jump in one more, because we got a few folks saying like, I got accepted into the college. I got a letter saying that I got a $10,000 scholarship. It doesn't look anything like this. So what's going on?
Yeah.
That's a really common question and point of confusion for this, of which is very justified. What that very likely means, I can borderline guarantee it, you haven't received your financial aid offer yet. You've just received your acceptance and the merit-based scholarship that comes with that. And it's just a matter of time before you receive this full financial aid award letter. The best kind of telltale sign that this is your quote unquote complete offer, we're not going to say final, right? That's why we're all here tonight, but your complete offer, at least initial offer, is that it includes this next piece that Peg's about to hit on, which is the student loans that are going to total for freshman year $5,500. Great questions. And again, Peg, I thought it was important to address that.
Yeah, no, that's a big point of confusion. If it's from the Office of Admissions, it's not the financial aid award letter. It's going to come from up here, DU. It says financial aid. And as Matt just said, if you see loans on there, if you see work study, that means that's your award letter. If you see a scholarship only, and it's usually in a letter, that's your notification of merit aid and maybe admission at the same time, or maybe not. But it's a great question, because a lot of people get confused about that. And rightly, the process is confusing. Okay. And then this award letter shows the family, hey, these are your costs without loans and with loans, which I think is really great. The last one I want to point out here, and I have this up here for Oxy specifically because they actually have their own loan. We don't see this all the time, but it's not 1 in a million. It is around. And that's an important thing to look at too, because the ones I've looked into for families, they're pretty good. Like the interest rate is very competitive. It could be very low. So that could be a good thing to look at before you look at a Parent Plus loan or outside loans. And then of course, they're always going to give you those Parent Plus loans. They're always going to tell you they're available, because they are. Just real quick, and then we'll move on. A college can award your student a Parent Plus loan for the full amount of their cost minus anything they give or Pell Grants or anything else. So you don't get any aid like that UC Davis. You saw almost all of it was in a Parent Plus loan. You can see why you would get in deep water really quickly. In my opinion, it's borderline predatory lending on the government's part, and it should change. And if you guys are in the know, you won't get sucked into that. It depends on your family. Some families, that's a strategy and it makes sense. And others, it's not. Okay. Oh, I thought I pulled this out. So sorry about that. That shouldn't have been in there. So now you know the awards. Okay. So what's the next piece here? So I know how to understand these awards, and my cap is helping me see that. How do I know if it's a good award? And that's the next step that we're going to actually show you right now, how that all comes together. So I'm going to let you share here, Matt.
Thank you, dear. Okay, so this is, again, if you haven't, and maybe put the link in the chat, please, Peg, if you would, for me. So this is our platform, right, that we've been referring to, College A Pro. Hopefully a bunch of you guys have this up already. But here's the deal. I think now we are at the point that we are alleviating or have a solution for the confusion that is caused by these financial aid offers, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to first, whatever colleges that are the top choices right now, you want to make sure that they're in the shop for schools section, right? So whether you've been accepted or you're still waiting, you want to make sure that they're in here. Okay. And then once you have the financial aid offers from there, you're going to go down to this translate and compare section. You're going to add your offer, right? So let's say we got somebody in my backyard here at Boston University, and I can pull up a particular file here. I upload this file. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer when I'm sharing my screen, but we just hit this translate financial aid offer button. Hopefully it's fairly intuitive. And again, we might have to bear with it as it's uploading. It's not going to take any of your personal information. You can redact anything on that financial aid offer that you don't want, but it's going to read it. And in most cases, you're going to get this. Hey, success. We've been able to read your letter and translate it. And it's going to take out all that confusing garbage and help it, because again, we have a lot of these schools make it confusing because it's a strategy for them. It's a competitive advantage that consumers don't know what they're signing up for, right? It's a nasty part of the process, but this tells you, okay, here's the sticker price. This is what you're getting in grants versus scholarships. Here's what you're getting in student loans, et cetera. But ultimately, this is the net cost that you're going to have to pay out of pocket at these colleges. What we're most excited about, at least speaking for myself, is this next iteration that just went live this week, is we're really telling you, did you get a good deal? Did you get a good deal at this school? What is your likelihood of having a successful appeal? And we'll talk about why, with very few exceptions, it's usually always worth going through the appeal, but we can help you set expectations that help you understand, am I spinning my wheels here, maybe wasting my time, versus you have to do this, okay? And obviously we're going to talk strategy there. But in order for the platform to be able to tell you whether or not you got a good deal, there's a few things you need to do on your end. Number one, 100% of your profile has to be complete, right? When you're getting on the platform, we're asking you questions, give us estimates with your income, give us the student's GPA, right? What zip code are you in? There's no personal identifiers, but you have to answer all those questions and answer them as accurately as possible, because obviously that's helping the technology determine whether or not you got a good award, what your likelihood is for an appeal. So you have to have a perfect profile or 100% of it complete. And we tell you, right, mine's 100% complete, but if it's not, it would say 86% complete, 40% complete, whatever. And the other thing is the schools that you're thinking about have to be in the shop for schools section. So long as you do that and you upload the actual financial aid award letter, we're going to evaluate it for you. Okay. And obviously for BU here, we think you have very strong potential to have a successful appeal. And then we provide some intel. Why do we think you have a great shot at Boston University? We would have expected, based on how they typically conduct business and based on your family scenario, your financial strength or lack thereof, based on the student's credentials, they under awarded you, in this family's sake, about $15,000 less than we think you deserve at this particular school, according to their net price calculator and how they hold themselves out to do business. Okay. So that's a huge flag right out of the gates, right? We're always going to plant our flag there, right? There's some other factors, not just that they under awarded you, that can maximize your odds of having a successful appeal. We'll unpack these as we go through the slide deck here. But when we see this one here, the institution's methodology, every college fits into different buckets in terms of their business model, essentially. But some colleges use what's called the institutional methodology, or there are some private colleges that use the federal methodology, which usually tells us there is, and if you click on the hints here, they're more likely to have some wiggle room with the initial offer, right? Which is different than state schools, public universities, where wiggle room doesn't really exist, okay? Which again, we'll unpack here. And then there's family considerations, right? So this particular family, okay, is a 2-household family, right? The parents are divorced. That is a variable that can be very relevant in a variety of ways in terms of being able to go back and successfully appeal for more financial aid. So I know we've been beating you over the head with get on the platform and upload your financial aid award letters. This is why. We want to help you translate them. More importantly, we want to help you easily identify, did I get a good deal at the school? And it doesn't mean we're not going to appeal, even if we did get a good deal, but that's our starting point for this process. And
Okay.
Peggy, yeah, so
And now I'm
hopefully,
just answering. Okay, here we go. A few people asked about the data and what we do with the data. We do not sell your data. First of all, you are not sharing account numbers, social security numbers, anything like that. And what we actually use the data for is to get better and better in our net cost projections for you. That's where we're getting very proprietary in what we can see. Okay, BC did this for this type of student. We're just going to get better, and we're pretty good already. We're going to get better and better at projecting, which supports you guys. So that's really what we're using the data for. So I just wanted to say that live because I've answered a couple of those questions already, which is a great question. It's a good question to ask. And that's what we're doing with the data. Okay. All right. So let's keep going here. So should you always appeal? So the answer is no, right? So let's talk about when it makes sense to appeal and when it doesn't. So good candidates for appeal. First of all, private schools versus state schools. Much better chance of having a successful appeal with the private school. Doesn't mean you shouldn't appeal. I was just talking to a woman today. I said, go ahead and try it. I'm not optimistic you're going to just clone what you're doing somewhere else. So it's not a lot of extra work. But in general, the main time you're going to appeal to state schools is if you've had a change of circumstance, your income's lower, somebody's retired, you had something weird in the tax year that was asked about, a huge capital gain, or you took a distribution on your 401k or something that's an anomaly, and you want to let the college or university know, and you want to do your homework and see, does that put me into need-based aid category or eligibility, then yeah, you might want to do it. But otherwise, usually with state schools, just we're going to tell you, you're not going to probably be as successful. Another big change that a lot of people have gone through, unfortunately, is COVID, right? If you've had a COVID impact, huge reason, just what I just said before, retirement distribution. If you're divorced, separated, or remarried, we're not going to get in the weeds on the nuances of these different schools, but some schools only look at the custodial parent. Some schools that even ask for information for both parents, the CSS profile, even some of those schools don't look at the non-custodial parent. And sometimes they don't really calculate your need exactly or your EFC correctly. And we know how they're supposed to be doing it. And we can help you appeal to say, hey guys, are you including the remarried spouse there? Because that's not really supposed to be in there, that kind of stuff. So we're just trying to plant seeds on when you should consider doing it. And Mac touched on this when he was in MyCap, but IM versus FM, that just means FAFSA only schools that only require the FAFSA versus schools that require this profile and the FAFSA. Big differences between them, and that you should realize all that when you're considering appealing. If you're a business owner, a lot of times you really should consider appealing because they look at your tax returns, they get rid of certain expenses that you might want to appeal on and say, hey, this is a valid expense. You need to leave it in there. My income is not as high as you've just made it. Those kind of conversations. And then if you have competing offers, again, the mom I talked to today, great competing offer to use to appeal between two private schools. So those are things for you to keep in mind as far as should you appeal. You're going to get these slides, as I said at the beginning, so you guys can go through these bullets. We want to make sure that we leave enough time to get through some other meatier stuff here. So you'll have that slide to review. On this slide, I just want to hit the first bullet and the last bullet. The ED early decision season is past because we're getting into March. But just for the younger parents here, you can appeal early decision. We help families all the time. I've had some really successful appeals through the years. You do lose some leverage when you apply early decision, which is where you're signing a contract, the school, the counselor signing a contract saying, I'm going to go if you let me in. So it's a great admissions play, but you do lose some leverage. So you want to do your homework, use our tool, do your homework, and know that you can afford it before you apply, but you can appeal. And then the bottom one, and we touched on this when we were talking about award letters versus admission decisions. When you're appealing, you want to make sure you're appealing to the right place. If you're appealing merit awards, which you absolutely can, you're going to be appealing to the Office of Admissions because they're the ones that awarded it, right? And if you're appealing your need-based aid, then you're going to be appealing to the Office of Financial Aid. So if you send a need-based appeal to admissions, they're going to kick it over. Like they can't handle that, and vice versa. So that's something that people don't realize, that one, you can appeal merit, and two, definitely do that to the Office of Admissions. All right, you want to take over here, buddy?
It's my favorite slide of all the slides that we
I
did.
know it is.
Here we go. In this, and just for some way of context, we've had it is a very simple slide, of course, and nothing here is earth-shattering. I think when we unpack it, if I do my job, you guys are going to learn a lot. And just so you understand the genesis of this slide, who we work on appeals with, you could argue this, right? With our team, the most, one of our main resources, he's the director of financial aid at Harvard Medical School. Before that, he was a director at MIT undergrad, and before that at Boston College and a few other schools. His name's Ryan Callahan, but he's done this for his entire career. He's been working with us for about 10 years, and he's incredibly talented at helping us and helping families go back and appeal for more financial aid or for more scholarships based on the school. Obviously, he has that really unique perspective of being on that side of the fence. And it's a huge credit to Harvard that they allow him to be a part of our team as well, because they believe in what we're trying to do and trying to make this transparent and try to make this thing happen for everybody. But this is his baby. And Peg, I'll echo what you just said in the chat here. Please put the questions in Q&A, guys. So if you put a question in chat, please copy and paste it and put it in Q&A.
Over for us.
It just it's going to increase the odds that we're going to be able to get to your question, right? So this slide, it changes each year. Its foundation remains the same, but this is, we see everybody has a unique situation. Every college is a little bit different. Every financial aid counselor within colleges are a little bit different. So there's no universal blanket recommendations, but this is a great start in terms of best practices for how we actually appeal. Peg gave you the first, I think, big bullet point in terms of X's and O's. If we're appealing for more merit-based money, admissions, more need-based money, we're doing it with the financial aid office. It's very common that we'll do both too. I will layer in that if we're appealing for more merit-based scholarships, it's best to have the student be the loudest voice in the room, with the parents in a supporting role. If it's need-based financial aid, it usually makes sense to have the parent or parents leading the charge and maybe the student adding some color to that. Okay. And that's a good segue into this first bullet here. Ryan, Peg will tell you, this guy can go 3 years without smiling. Okay. He's a serious dude, and he's a decent, again, everybody's different. Okay. But he's a decent representation of financial aid counselors in general, in my experience, in that they're number crunchers, serious folks that they're representing and employed by these institutions. It's their job to get you into these schools, hopefully give you enough money to get you to sign on the dotted line, but they're still making margins for their institution, right? And they're just looking at numbers. They're just looking at the FAFSA. They are just looking at the CS profile. Ryan always talks about, turns out this guy does have a heart, right? My job gets 10 times harder when somebody writes to me or picks up the phone and says, hey, the best day of our life was when our kid got accepted into their top choice, which is your institution. One of the worst days was 2 weeks later when we got the financial aid offer. And I'm looking at this thing as a parent going, I'm going to have to tell my kid that they can't go to the school that they've worked their butt off for 18 years to attend. I'm going to have to break their heart and say, I'm sorry, I, as your parent, don't have the means to pull this off. So coming from that place of just saying, and Peg talked about the fact that the tone matters here. We want to get these folks on our side. We want to get them motivated. And the talk track is, I'm trying to figure out a way to make this happen for my kid, and I'm asking for your help. And I know we're going to have to make sacrifices, but we can't be reckless. We want to spoon feed them. We want to do some of the homework for them. This is my second point here. We want to ask for a specific amount. Make Ryan and Josh's and Laura's job easier. Say, hey, we crunch the numbers. If you guys can come up with another $9,000, we will be able to make this work. It's still going to be a stretch, but we're going to be able to make this work. Ask for a specific amount. Right? We've talked about this in a variety of different ways. This is where we want to have offers from competing colleges. right? And we want to be able to say, even though maybe we're embellishing a little bit, as much as we'd like to attend your school, we're looking at an offer that's $15,000 better from school B here. And again, if we can't at least get close there, we probably don't have a choice, right? So we want to have leverage with and other offers. And especially if we're not eligible for need-based financial aid, and especially if we're talking about merit, this can be really powerful where we can say, hey, we have these better offers from other schools, because oftentimes that can be considered. It depends on the college, of course, right? Some colleges won't care. State public schools, they're not going to care, right? I saw Penn State come up earlier. I love Penn State, right? They're not going to care if you got a better offer from another school, right? Unless you're playing from Coach Franklin, they're probably going to tell you it is what it is, okay? This kind of fourth point here, this is something that is a PhD level type of tip, and I always wonder how much we should unpack it in presentations like this, but a lot of these colleges, and it tends to be private schools in particular, they want your tax returns. You guys know, you've been through IDOC. You've had to give your 2021 federal tax returns and all schedules. Why? It's not because they want to verify what you put on the financial aid applications. It's because they want to look at your write-offs. They want to see, what did you deduct, especially if you're a business owner. If you're a business owner, they're going to say, you wrote off this consulting fee, this piece of software. We're not going to count that. Okay. The IRS didn't have a problem with it, but we do. And so we're going to give you less financial aid because we don't agree with those deductions, unbeknownst to you, of course. Or you own another piece of property and you had depreciation. We're not going to count that. We're not going to count that right off. We're going to add that as untaxed income and say your family actually has more money. That's just a soft write-off. So we're going to give you less financial aid. How are you supposed to know that? You're not, right? So that's why we need to call them on that specifically. Did you guys not count some of the write-offs that the IRS allowed, but did you discount any of those and as a result give us less financial aid? And that is, again, a PhD level appeal, right? That nobody knows to challenge that unless you work with us or you hear one of our presentations, right? So that can be an important piece here. The last two here, more, I guess, on the softer side, if you will, but persistence matters, right? But again, like hopefully we talked about at the top and has been sprinkled in here throughout, the tone matters, right? Ryan and Josh and Laura, they'll tell us all the time, if someone's being a jerk, if I feel like I'm being strong-armed by somebody, I'm just saying to myself, I don't want to work with this person for the next 4 years. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So you have to come from that space, right? There's nothing, you're incredibly motivated to make this happen for your kid. And there's nothing wrong with being persistent, but you have to do it from this place of kindness and being super, super polite, because if again, they have these are human beings making decisions at the end of the day, right? Not institutions. And something that I always find incredible, and we get these stories all the time, is that they get to these individual financial aid counselors get to make their own decisions, even though they're employed by that university. So it's important to keep that in mind, right? That we're dealing with this human being that has some extent of control. So anyways, that's an important piece. And then the last one, we sprinkled this in here. We want the student to have a voice, especially if it's a merit-based appeal. But even if it is a need-based appeal, it's important to have them be involved in some capacity, even if it's just a letter or just an email to again, add the color, show their investment in this process.
I think the reason you got to put yourself in the college's shoes, right? If they're going to give you more money, they want to feel like this kid's going to come. We're going to get that net revenue. We might give them another 3,000, but we're going to get that 35,000 that we know they have to pay. So if the student's involved, I always say, put something in your note that's specific. If you know about a class that you're excited about taking, something that's not like the campus is beautiful or something that's just everybody can say, anything that makes them feel like, yeah, this is really going to make this kid come. That's where they're coming from. That's why, and we shouldn't really have it in the bottom right corner. We should have it in the top, because this is the big one to me. It's good for your child to learn how to do this kind of stuff anyways, but have them leading the charge. And then writing an emotional, don't overthink it, doesn't have to be a big deal, but just really say how they feel. And then you can come in as the parent and get into the nitty gritty of a need-based appeal, or you can just reiterate what they said on the merit side, because the merit side is more them saying, hey, and what Matt said about the ask is super important, but you don't want to over ask. My meeting today, this school gave 35 and this other school gave 25. And I said, the school that gave 25, they have a $30,000 award. I wouldn't ask for 35 because now you're off the charts, and that college could look at that and say, we can't do 35. So if we gave 30, they're probably not going to be happy. So let's just give that 5,000 to another family. This is what I think. That's what I'd be thinking if my whole job was to try and get this money in the door, get these families to buy. I hate to say it, but that's part of what's going on behind closed doors. So hopefully this gives you some insight into this process.
And another important point here, Peg, and we should actually, this is a good note for us because we should have this in writing somewhere, or at a minimum, make it a point of emphasis. If don't accept the award, don't sign on the dotted line, don't put your deposit in until you've gone through the appeal process. If you already have, it doesn't mean you're not an idiot. You didn't screw up. It's totally okay. And you can still appeal because, and this will be a part of your talk track, you can put in more than one deposit at a college. They don't like you to, but you can. But if you haven't already, do not put your deposit in. And they're going to give you some scare tactics. If you want to get the best housing, if you want to make sure to secure your whatever, you have until May 1st. Don't sign on the dotted line until you've gone through the appeal process. If they've given you a deadline before May 1st, ask for an extension. Ask specifically to say, can I extend my deposit deadline until I've gone through the formal appeal process? And I'm seeing, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this, but I see Yvonne in the chat section saying that I'm going to end up crying on the phone more than likely. LOL, so stressful. God bless, do it. Absolutely do it. This is an emotional deal, guys. We say it every day. It's your money and your kids. There's a decent amount on the line here. And if that comes through in this part of the process, that's typically more of a good thing than a bad thing, right? Again, you're trying to make it happen for your kids here. And that's what we want to come through, right? So I think I hit the big ones on this one, Peggy, if you want to show you want
okay, so just real quick here, and disclaimer, we're not saying this is what always happens, but we just want to show you that it can be very much worth the effort. So here's an Oxy, and this is this year. This was an ED family with one of our experts, not Matt or myself, but another one of our experts. So the student,
I taught him, it's important to note, Peg, I taught Vern everything he knows.
Okay, all right. So Matt's going to take some credit for this since he was his mentor. Okay, receipt. Thank you for pointing that out. So this student got a merit scholarship, need-based, nice amount of gifting. They appealed. Vern helped them appeal, and based on some home equity stuff, that's another thing to appeal on if you own your home and the college is looking at it. And after the appeal, what Oxy came back with, you still got your merit, but look how the grants jumped quite a bit. So we went from 34 to over 62, right? And this was based on getting that EFC lower by taking some of that home value out. Some of these colleges, the amount of the home value they'll pop in, if you call them on it, like, oh yeah, you're right, no bank will let us do that. So really nice result for the family. Again, not the typical, but what's our typical, Matt? 3,000 to 5,000. Of course, if you come to us and we say this is not a good appeal opportunity, like I shared earlier, that is what it is. But if you've got some ammo, like I like to say, then we usually do pretty well.
I checked with the data folks today. Our average for this year is 11,000 on appeals. That we wouldn't hold ourselves out to say, hey, sign up with us and you're going to get 11,000 more, but that is what the numbers. That's the average for right now. Generally speaking, to your point, it's unless we have some really significant ammo, we're expecting to get another $3,000 to $5,000. But don't forget, that's for 4 years, so it's not pennies.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right, let's see. I think some other good questions here that I got, and I'm going to talk about in just 2 minutes how you can work with us and our fee structure and all that, which is very straightforward. As We promise we're going to let you know how you can engage with us beyond tonight, but where was this? Because we got a few different variations of it. Oh, in terms of, do we do this over the phone? Does it have to be in person? Is it an email? Generally speaking, this is going to have to be in writing, but I think a great way to start this, whether you write in or call in, is to say we'd like to formally appeal for additional financial aid and or scholarships. How do you do it at your institution? Because there is a huge spectrum here of how schools do it, and they are school specific. Some are very blasé. Hey, send us a letter and explain some circumstances that you don't think that we have already through what you completed on the FAFSA and or CS profile. We'll meet as an appeal committee. We'll let you know, right? Some are very informal. Some borderline make you reapply for financial aid, send us your tax returns, fill out this form. And that's, again, is by design, because they make it prohibitive to even go through the process. Okay, Peggy, if you want to hit on this before, or yeah, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, and what I'm going to say while he's doing that, and I say this every time, if Matt and I have done our job here, you guys are going to do something. And you're going to get the slide tomorrow where I've listed all of our free resources, and Matt's going to pull up a slide that lists them. If you love to do things yourself, you love to make spreadsheets, go have fun. You can see on the left here, and then I'll get out of your way, Matt. On the left, you see all the free support, right? We've encouraged you to get into the software. We have office hours every other Monday. We did them this week. Hop on, ask your question, listen to other parents and learn from other parents. We have a Facebook group. We have a YouTube channel where we shoot a lot of vlogs for you, so take advantage of all of that for sure.
Yeah, and here's my recommendation, guys, and this is like, whether you've been on with us before, this is your first time getting in front of us, and assuming hopefully you stay engaged with us, you'll see this. But whenever we do a live event, we always have a special promotion for anybody that shows up, and this is kind of the firm one I'm recommending tonight. I'm very firm for you class 2023 families. If you haven't created your MyCap account yet, do that. Okay. If you're in there, either hit upgrade in the top right of your account, and I'll show that in a second. Select the valedictorian option. Okay. That will give you full access to the platform for a year, but more importantly, it'll give you an hour with one of our experts to go over your appeal specifically. It could be me, Peg. Again, you've heard us talk about Ryan at Harvard, or Josh at MIT, Laura at Denison, right? Vern, who had that $30,000+ successful appeal. This is what we do. This is what we are good at. If you purchase that tonight, and this expires at midnight Eastern time tonight, okay, use the coupon code NS20. Okay, so you go to MyCap, upgrade, or if you're just going on there now, choose the valedictorian option, use the coupon code NS20. For $239, you'll get an hour. We'll review your FAFSA. We'll review your CSS profile. We will maximize your odds of having a successful appeal. Okay. Book that tonight. You don't have to have your meeting tonight. If you're still waiting on awards, right? You don't have to schedule that yet. You can wait until you get your award, but take advantage of that deal. You'll get, like we said, your colleagues that couldn't make it tonight, they're going to get the recording. They're going to get the slides. They're not going to get that deal. Okay. I'm going to tell you another thing here and your colleagues aren't going to get this tomorrow. If you didn't get your money's worth, if you purchased tonight and you didn't get your money's worth in the meeting that you have, 100% refund, no questions asked. This is being recorded. I'm going on record here. This is myself, Matt Carpenter. You're going to say, Matt Carpenter said, if I didn't have a meeting where I felt I didn't get $239 worth of value, then I want my money back. Now, in most cases, on average, like I said, we're getting $11,000 more. We're helping people get $11,000 more in these appeals. So that ROI is a little bit insane. Now, are we batting 1,000? No, we're not. And I'm setting the expectation at the Penn States of the world. I don't think we can do better. But even in those meetings, it's incredibly rare that people want their money back, because we're having conversations. I had a couple of them today that said, hey, regardless of how this appeal goes, we're still going to need to borrow. What type of loan should we be thinking about? What are our blind spots? We're very good at this, guys. So don't overthink it. I know it's very scary to think of. I'm looking at this huge bill. The last thing I want to do is spend $239. Do not overthink it. Don't, I forget the saying, trip over pennies or something like that. I'm not saying $239 is not a lot of money. It is, but we're very good at what we do. Put us to the test. If we don't deliver, get your refund, and that's it. And again, you have access to our full platform for a year. So I'm incredibly firm on that recommendation. Do it. You're going to thank yourselves, okay? And take advantage tonight while you can.
And let me just real quick asking, I'm a younger parent, still create your MyCap account, because basically if you book a meeting, anybody can book a meeting. We're just focused on appeals. We spend a lot of time in the year meeting with sophomore and junior parents for other pieces of the puzzle. So go ahead and get in there and start getting educated. Like I talked about at the beginning, after the first year in the full platform, it's $4.99 a month to stay in. It's a Starbucks, right? It's even less than some of the Starbucks. So
say it, Peggy.
it's a no-brainer. It's a screaming deal. It's a
screaming deal. Yeah.
I'll put the coupon code in the chat too, because somebody was asking. There you go.
For you underclassmen, what you're going to want to consider tonight, right, is this kind of wake me up when it's over package. It's not going to be applicable for class 2023 families there's some exceptions, but by and large, it makes the most sense for you to just stay in this middle lane here, unless you're just very late in the process, which there might be some of you, but this wake me up when it's over package, you have one-on-one relationship with one of our experts, unlimited kind of time commitment there from beginning to the end of the whole process. And we're very hands-on. So for example, we complete the FAFSA for you. We complete this profile for you. We help build your list of colleges. We are the ones on the front lines appealing, and don't let Peg hear this, but negotiating with these colleges and leveraging our team of experts, help you how you're going to pay this bill, how you're going to borrow. So that's these wake me up when it's over packages. We also have one on the admission side, right, for that piece of the puzzle. Look at my Common App. How am I going to do my essay? Coach my kid up, keep them accountable on their part of the process that they need to own. And then there's a combo if you want that all in. Way more money, right? So it's $3,000 for the financial aid only. Wake me when it's over, $29.99. $4,000, $39.99 for admissions, or it's if you combine them, and I think this is actually, to use Peg's term, a screaming deal. If you want the all-in admissions and financial aid help, it's $49.99 for both. But tonight, if that's something you do tonight, you get $500 off. So you use this coupon code. You just click on the links here, and they'll allow you to sign up, and you get $500 off if you decide to do any of those tonight. But again, that only makes sense if you're an underclassmen family. If you are class 2023, unless you're pretty far behind and feel like you need a ton of hand-holding here, I would recommend you just booking it, and that's where you should live.
Somebody was asking how soon. You don't have to wait a month to get a meeting. We have a bunch of experts that work for us that we've talked about tonight, and you can go in and pick a person, or you can even go to first available. And what's today, Thursday? I would be shocked if you can't get a meeting early next week.
Tomorrow, some of our folks meet over the weekends. And
we have just brought on she used to run financial aid at Denison, and now she's at Columbus School of Art and Design. But she's got weekend hours, which is great, because I know some of you guys, that works out much better for your schedules than having to cram it in with a work week.
Yeah. But again, I think that just to reiterate what Peggy said is just make sure don't do nothing. This is a scary process. It's your kids and your money, and human nature is, and believe me, I'm the biggest culprit here. Stick your head in the sand until you have to deal with it, but at least continue to engage with us in some capacity. And even if it's just our free resources, and I think we're pretty good with our free resources. So again, I'm getting some questions here in the chat. I just put the link in there again, and I'm getting some other questions. I'll show you.
That link. Yeah.
And within the platform, guys, this is I've already upgraded in this account. So on the top right here for me, it says talk to an expert. So I could book another hour up here if I wanted to book another hour. For most of you that just have the free account, it's going to say upgrade there, and you're going to choose the valedictorian option, right? Or if you're just so this is where I would go to to book my hour. And again, you don't have to schedule it tonight. You can just have it at that deal. And if you're still waiting for your award, do it whenever that comes in. But yeah, once you set up your MyCap account, you're going to click on that in the top right here to upgrade and hold me accountable, right? People have asked for their money back before. We haven't batted 1,000. Our batting average is phenomenal. So that's why I'm able to hold it out in a public forum like this without our CEO scolding me. But again, hold me to it. I'm the one putting my word on the line a little bit here.
Yeah. And the last, what I want to close on, somebody wrote in and said, if you appeal, can admission be repealed? No, that just doesn't, it doesn't happen. If you commit fraud on the financial aid forms, there's different things that can happen where they say, yeah, okay, we don't want your child here at this school, but they're expecting appeals. They're counting on you not knowing that you can appeal. So that's why we're trying to make you informed consumers so you know how to do that. So you don't, the worst that happen is they say, we're sorry. We can't give can't give you any more money. You're still welcome to come. We just can't change.
And a couple other questions here, guys. We've been seeing a huge shift for this year in successful appeals is being able to properly position. If you're a homeowner and you're appealing with a college that considers home equity, and there's a lot of them that tend to be the most popular ones, that is something that we've been able to crush this year in terms of pushing back on that particular variable. We've got a few questions there. So if that sounds like it's describing you, take advantage, right? We've got that piece of this puzzle dialed in. If you already put your deposit in, it doesn't mean it's too late. Okay. But if you haven't, sit tight. Okay. So again, I know we've got a couple of those, and the reason why, even if you're still waiting on offers, the reason why, and I get it, guys, I'm hard selling here, but it's because I believe so much in this particular thing that we do, and I just know how good we are at it. You want to, even if you have those offers, book it tonight so you get the better deal. And again, I'm slapping this guarantee on it, right? That won't be the case when we follow up tomorrow. And then yeah, if you're class of 2024 family, the reason why I'd recommend purchase tonight is because you get that $500 off. If you're doing one of these wake me up when it's over packages, I think it's something worth taking advantage of. Indiana University, shout out Hoosiers, right, Peggy? There we go. Is it worth appealing? Your expectations are that unless we have some really palpable ammunition, what is probably what you get. Now, to me, I'm always like, hey, appeal, go through the motions. At least he can say we did everything we could. But I would say that if it's not worth booking an hour with us, if your only get is to get more money at Indiana University, again, unless I could point to something, you had a rollover, you had a one-time distribution, you had a type of, God forbid, type of scenario there. I don't think there's anything we can do or anybody can do to get more money out of those at Indiana or those types of state flagship schools, again, unless we have some robust ammunition. We're going to provide other value in that hour, but if it's just get more money out of IU, unfortunately, I don't think we or anybody has the secret sauce there.
It's still an awesome place, though. I still recommend.
That is not a knock on IU, believe me. That is just a Virginia Tech, same deal. I love Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. My brother coaches football there, so we are diehard Tech fans. Okay, it's very unlikely, unless you're playing for Coach Pry or my brother Coach Carpenter, you're probably not getting more money there, right? Santa Clara, different example. Absolutely appeal. Santa Clara, completely different ball game here. But yeah, UC Santa Cruz, same as Indiana, any of these states, Clemson, unless you're playing for Dabo, right? We're not getting any more money. CU Boulder, same deal. Unless you're playing for Dion now, you're probably not getting any more money.
Yeah, Boulder's a tough one. Boulder's a really tough one, and they're very popular. So the more popular schools are, the less generous, honestly, they have to be. Because
I know it's so hard to create leverage because, again, those ones we just mentioned, Clemson, Boulder, Indiana, UC Santa Cruz, like they're just, you don't want to come, UC Santa Barbara, right? You don't want to come here. We'll take the next one behind you that's paying full sticker price and not asking one thing. Unfortunately, I don't mean to make light of that because I'm sure some of you are pulling your hair out, but that's just the deal. So I think, and again, same thing, guys, at University of Maryland, it's these state flagship universities in general. I'm not saying don't do it, but expectations have to be probably what we see is what we're getting. black and white cookie cutter type of institutions. Okay. Yeah, BU different. I'd go back. Pepperdine different, 100%. We've generally have a lot of success with those types of folks. But Peggy, I know we couldn't get to everything, guys. We always wish we could. It means you're asking a ton of questions, a ton of great questions, and a lot of you showed up, which we're always very grateful for. Again, if you're on the fence, don't overthink it. Book an hour with us. If it wasn't one of the best decisions you made financially, ask for your money back. We're not going to fight you. You're going to get it back, but let us help you out. And the reason why I come over the top here, I love this. I love going back to these schools and getting more money. And so does everybody on our team. And we're good at it. That's why we're coming in hot for you tonight. Anything else for you, Peggy?
No, I think we're good. Yeah. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions. I was doing my best in there to hit stuff. But one last thing. Somebody asked about what is ED and EA. We tend to just throw these things out. ED is early decision or EA is early action. Those are ways to apply for admission. So they're just ED is binding if you get in. EA is just an earlier way, but you can appeal to all of those. As Matt said, it's better not to say, hey, I'm coming, here's my deposit check, because you lose some leverage. They know, even though you could technically go somewhere else and lose your deposit, it's better for them to think that a successful appeal is going to be a big part of your decision.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah. Hey, listen, we're pulling for you either way. And like we've said more than once, whatever you do, stay engaged with us. We are motivated to help you in whatever capacity works best for you. And you guys can self-identify, right? If you're just a DIYer that likes free resources, awesome. We're not going anywhere. For those of you that doesn't describe you perfectly, engage with us in these other capacities, and we're going to do a great job for you.
Yep. We will be back with more webinars. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Peggy, my dear. Long day. You go treat you safe, pal. Go have a drink.
All right. Everybody have a good night.
Bye, everybody.